G'day, my name is Bryce Hill. I'm a 4th year pre-service teacher at ACU and I am presenting reflection and critical analysis based on my learnings from the subject EDAB411. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the original custodians of this land, the Turrbal and Yuggera people, and pay my respects to the elders both past, present and future, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the cultures and the hopes of Indigenous Australians. So, my title for this assessment is Knowledge is Power. Therefore, as educators, we need to be part of that solution, or else we are part of the problem. The thematic area of this unit I will be presenting in this vlog relates to incorporating and engaging Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives in the teaching of the curriculum, particularly in the area of mathematics. Therefore, utilising the course materials and other sources, I will be reflecting and critically analysing who is it for and who should be involved, why the embedding of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives in daily classroom processes are necessary, not only from a legal perspective, but also necessary and important from a practical, moral and ethical perspective to all in a wider society and future generations as acknowledgement for the first Australians. I'll be presenting how and what, based on current research, how it could or should be taught, with illustrations and examples, with this then applied both conceptually and from a mathematical perspective, and finally my perceived personal and individual role as a future teacher to embed Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander pedagogy and perspectives. So who? Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are the first Australians with the oldest continuing cultures in human history. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples inhabited this land in excess of 70,000 years prior to Europeans landing and declaring the land terra nullius. However, the Indigenous population had successfully inhabited this land, utilising their culture and knowledges to be one with their country, rather than the taming that was the prevalent thoughts of the so-called educated Darwinists that arrived. It took until 1992 for this travesty of justice to be rectified. It is therefore axiomatic that this cultural and knowledges, whilst largely ignored in the 18th, 19th and 20th century, should be recognised and integrated into any learning processes. Furthermore, in considering who can be involved in this, many resources are located within the school community. As a teacher, successful learning depends on mutual understanding. Harrison and Selwood in 2016 suggested a form of reciprocal trust can be built on respect, recognition and understanding. This can be achieved through engaging with, respecting, listening and valuing Indigenous parents, Indigenous elders and community to learn about Indigenous knowing within the community. It can also be achieved by encouraging and incorporating Indigenous participation as well as promoting Indigenous student success within the education system. This has been the repeated message that I have been presented to me throughout this course of study, from John McMaster, Ken Miller and Nangatana Louie, or the readings from Younger Porter, Nakata, Dr. Sarah, Michael Mansell, Noel Pearson or Uncle Ernie Grant. They all have familiar vision, which, as the Australian Institute of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies states, is a world in which Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's knowledge and cultures are recognised, respected, celebrated and valued. So from time to time we're going to have to justify why we need to do this. So why should I incorporate it or embed Indigenous culture in my teaching? I know there's going to be parents out there that are going to ask that question. The current education system is not working for Indigenous students. Only 49% of Indigenous students attend school for more than 90% of the allocated time, compared to 77% for non-Indigenous students. Now that's come from the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet in 2019, so these are current statistics. Whilst we have multiple legal responsibilities, including, as you can see on the screen, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Racial Discrimination Act, the cross-curriculum priorities and its associated organising ideas, the Melbourne Declaration on Educational Goals for Young Australians, something is still going wrong. Indigenous students are still disengaged. One solution may be to acknowledge the past and to rectify the present. The past has created historical oppression of the Indigenous, leading to social conditioning of roles and expectation. The Closing the Gap 2019 report stated that factors such as intergenerational trauma, family stress, unstable housing, violence, low parental education and employment can compromise the ability of children to learn. As I have learned in this course, to make peace and move forward to a respectful, healthy, productive future for all people is the definition of Makarrata. More importantly, by utilising local Indigenous customs and integrating across curricula, there are benefits for all students, as social justice principles can be applied in teaching non-Indigenous students, non-Indigenous students, facilitating harmonious classroom environments. Another solution may be in looking at the way we are teaching. Even with all the above things that you see on the screen, there may be another way to do things. I will now talk about how and what should or could be taught with justification of the associated strategies. Students from Indigenous cultures traditionally learn differently. Perzo and Hayward 2015 state that irrelevant of location, and despite becoming increasingly urbanised, all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people maintain aspects of their cultural identity and engage in cultural practices to some extent. A number of theories have evolved as to the integration of Indigenous identity, practices and perspectives in learning. The prominent pedagogical framework is Tyson Yunkaporta's 8 Ways of Indigenous Learning, which consists of 8 interconnected, relational, dynamic and interactive processes. This diagram details how all aspects are relational. As the New South Wales Department of Education and Community's Regional Aboriginal Education Team surmise, it is a starting point to assist expressing Indigenous knowledge within a cross-cultural dialogue, or as Drury, as cited in Yunkaporta and McGuinty 2009 states, a harnessing of two systems in order to create new knowledge. While simplifying the diagram does not do justice to the depth of the concepts, the strategies to embed engagement have been summarised by a Regional Aboriginal Education Team as connecting through shared stories, picturing the processes, see with respect, think, act, make and share without words, recreate knowledge with artefacts, utilise learning through metaphor from land and nature, meld ideas to create new knowledge, start at the macro, work to the micro levels and then back out, share with others for the greater good. However, there is obvious interconnection with each of these aspects, as you can see from the lines. As can see from above, this pedagogy is both simple and complex in nature. In fact, Tyson Yunkaporta with McGuinty in 2009 took a group of teachers out bush to elaborate and teach the 8 ways from a practical perspective. Therefore, the benefits of integrating the 8 ways framework is it acknowledges Indigenous culture as relevant and recognised as valuable, therefore increasing engagement and motivation for the students. It embeds strategies that engage learners, and it unites local understandings and equivalent knowledge alongside mainstream learning topics. Therefore, utilising local Indigenous customs and being receptive to cross-curricular differences, then teaching these to non-Indigenous students facilitates creation of respectful classroom environments. So, you might ask, what's this got to do with maths? A number of initiatives have been implemented in what has been termed as ethno-mathematics. One partnership, as reported by Owens, between Indigenous community and Stronger, Smarter Learning Networks in Orange, New South Wales, recognise that through storytelling, recognition of land links, outside lessons and non-verbal teaching, that the mathematics content can be more culturally based. Furthermore, Matthews in 2012 posits that by using maths as a story and utilising the current relationship between what is lived to create meaningful relationships between Indigenous people and mathematics, values students' cultural background and knowledge and provides connection to the mathematics lesson. His process uses maths as a story. This year, for example, uses a vortex that sucks two groups together and then the cloud places them together. This thereby embeds mathematics as a creative process. Students utilise their own language and self-expression to define the story. It allows Indigenous students, through scaffolding, the chance to explore the use of symbols in constructing abstract representations. Done through creation of mathematics story, it is an unstructured representation, then moves towards structured representation. They then share symbol systems, finally modifying the story to utilise concrete materials that can achieve conceptual understanding. In all, what is attempted to be achieved is to support a positive sense of students' Indigenous identity while learning mathematics, or as Matthews in 2012 states, applying one's own cultural lens. This teaching method can be also paralleled by ACU's current mathematical teaching pedagogy. It's known as the mathematical module. The mathematical teaching pedagogy, which is known as the language model. This was Ides in 2014 and Jamison Proctor Larkin in 2018. Put simply, the 4 stages progress from the most familiar language and concrete materials working towards abstract mathematical representations. So, this leads us to where we are now. What I've come to learn from this course. As a teacher, I am the cultural interface. I need to recognise, support and integrate competing knowledge systems, and that to develop cultural competence, I need to have knowledge, understanding and respect of Indigenous history and culture. I need to authenticate Indigenous ways of knowing and doing, paralleling, like I've shown with the maths, where possible current formats. I need to recognise and understand the traumatic impact of European landing and invasion had on the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander psyche, and from an educational perspective, how racist government policy has led to negative connotations associated with the educational process. As such, I therefore need to be part of the solution, or else I am just part of the problem. As Nakata in Price 2012 states, the positive turning point in his education was when an educator did not take down barriers for him, rather he just didn't put one up. Furthermore, in reiterating what was said earlier, I want and need to be part of a world in which Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's knowledges, cultures are recognised, respected, celebrated and valued. And that's it. Thank you.